everybody, and thanks for joining Joe and I for this week's Sam's 10-Minute Tuesdays. This is a very great topic that Joe and I were talking about earlier today, and it just fits right in with activity management because I know it's all about taking things down in bite-sized pieces, as we like to say. But Joe had a great metaphor that I'd like him to share with everybody right now.
Awesome, Mickey. So this morning, as I was driving into the office after my morning workout, I'm like, ooh, a little sore. I'm like, yeah, but it's a good sort of sore. And it made me think about the saying that the Marines have, that pain is weakness leaving the body. And it made me think about the pain of our business and our profession. As financial advisors, we talk to our clients about the little pain of paying the premium avoids that huge pain down the road of not having all the income, of having to pay for the long-term care need out of pocket, of not being able to send the kids off to college. So you get to choose, do you want this great big pain of regret down the road, or do you want the little monthly pains of setting aside the money to be able to cover it? And as financial advisors, as professionals, we get to make a similar choice to that. We get to choose having that little bit of pain every single day of picking up the phone and doing the 20 dials, if that's what your activity numbers dictate, of putting yourself out there emotionally and asking for the introductions to get the 5 or 6 introductions per day that you need to feed your business, to take the time to study to get that advanced designation, to make that little sacrifice for getting those letters and that big payoff. Because you either make those little sacrifices, take those little amounts of pain that become very tolerable over time, or you get that huge amount of pain down the road of failing out of the business, of telling your spouse, no, we can't do that, of telling your children, I can't take you to Disney, or you're not going to be able to afford to go to college, or failing out and being miserable and having that huge pain of regret because you didn't take the little daily bits of pain along the way that is necessary to build this career.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor.
That's what I was thinking about is, do you want the great big pain all in one lump sum, or do you want to take it in small doses that become tolerable and eventually even somewhat pleasurable? Okay, I got through my 10 dials, I picked up the phone, or I got my 5 introductions, or what have you, those little things, because your mind and your body become calloused, as David Goggins would say. You get used to it. It's no longer a problem. When you first start running, you might run a mile and be ready to puke your guts up and your lungs are on fire. But after you do it a bunch of times, 1 mile is nothing. Doing 50, jumping jacks could be the scariest thing in the world to you right now, and you're afraid you're going to have a heart attack. But if you start working up to it and do it and take little bits of pain, within a month or so, it doesn't bother you. Same thing with picking up the phone 40 times a day, or scheduling 20 appointments a week or 25 appointments per week to drive your machine. It's the same sort of thing. You build up that little bit of tolerance to pain to avoid the huge pain of regret.
Yeah, that's a great reminder for everybody, and can apply to all kinds of things when it comes to activity management, or even getting introductions, for example. You can have it's somewhat painful to ask for referrals and introductions, but the closing ratio is going to be probably 3 times greater when it comes to introductions. So it's kind of a trade-off, isn't it? Kind of a matter of trade-offs, kind of the pros. Everything in life has pros and cons, as does this, whether it be exercising or making calls and asking for referrals.
Yeah, and which is more painful, that 30 seconds of emotional doubt when you're asking for the introductions, or the having to live in a crappy little apartment when you're 32 years old and not being able to afford the stuff that you want?
Yeah,
I'll take the 30 seconds of doubt and pain anytime over the big daily uncertainty.
Yeah. I think it's also worth noting and reminding everybody that there are 2 primary motivators of all human beings. That's to avoid pain or gain pleasure. And now, which is a stronger motivator? It's to avoid pain. So sometimes to motivate ourselves, we have to think about what kind of pain is going to be attached to one thing versus the other. Or as they say, the way to eat an elephant is one bite at a time, which is what to your point, break it down to bite-sized pieces where you can actually make an impact. And so,
or as we work with our clients, we talk about, we want to minimize their taxes overall. So do you want, avoid the little bit of taxes now and have the huge tax bill down the road, or are you willing to pay a little bit of taxes now and avoid that huge tax bill down the road? It's the exact same choice. Where are you going to take the little bit of hit, the little bit of uncomfortableness to produce the greatest good, the greatest positive feeling, the greatest net effect? And with our business, it's very similar to our clients. And, do they save in Roth IRAs and cash value life insurance? Or do they put it all into 401ks and taxables and have to deal with the big tax implications down the road, which is going to hurt a lot more? Take the little bit of pain now to have all that pleasure at the end.
Another good analogy that made me think of one of our colleagues in the business, Howard Elias out of New York, where he and I had this great big challenge years ago. We talked about a LAMP conference, and we said, you know what, we're going to do X number of sit-ups throughout the year. And I'll throw the number at you. It's doing 18,250 sit-ups, which people go, that's crazy. But in a year, it's only 50 a day. Now, it sounds like a lot, but anybody can do 50 a day because your stomach muscles are one muscle group that you can exercise as often as you want. You're not going to burn out like you will an elbow, doing.
Right, and you can break it up. You can do sets of 10 throughout the day until you can do more at one point, just like you're dialing.
Yeah, but when you do the multiplication, 18,250 sit-ups. If you ask somebody, do you want to do 18,250 sit-ups this year? They'll go, what, are you crazy? Well, how about just 50 a day? Can you do it? Sure. And it all works. But same thing with making phone calls, whether it be, you want to make 5,000 calls this year? That sounds like it's insurmountable. But it really isn't if you're talking about, doing 20 calls a day or whatever that number is. And again, it's a numbers game, right?
Absolutely. And sales is a numbers game, and introductions help you win that game every single day.
Yes, it does. Joe, thanks again for joining me. And let's. I'm hearing a lot of cool things. A lot of people are liking the podcast that we're doing. Done 10-minute snippets, and certainly they can learn a lot from your years in the business, and more recently than mine. But again, we appreciate what you're doing, and it's always great to talk to a kindred spirit who believes that sales is an activity game, as you said, and introductions make it easy to win that game every day.